them.
Texas Congressman Michael McCaul, the ranking Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, joins me now. Congressman, let me ask it this way on the heels of what Coons just said. It's our fault, then, that Iran is kind of ticking things up with more danger for us?
No, and I think what Senator Coons is saying is the Iran deal from the beginning was flawed, didn't have the inspections necessary. Intercontinental ballistic missiles are not part of this agreement. And now we're seeing the Iranians being disingenuous. And they have now threatened Europe to basically say, pick the United States or Iran. And I guarantee you they're going to pick the United States at the end of this deal. What I see, Harris, is a desperation now on the part of Iran. I think the president made the right move. I've talked to Secretary Pompeo. Putting the sanctions back on Iran has crippled their economy. Their Hezbollah terrorist armed operations in the Shia crescent of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Yemen. It's all starting to fall apart. And I think this is a positive step. What I don't like is them threatening United States military. And that's why you're seeing 100,000 tons of diplomacy being moved into the Persian Gulf as I speak.
You know, some European countries have chosen to continue in that deal, obviously, and doing business with Iran. Are there any concerns that they should have about sticking to this deal? And which countries?
Well, you know, a lot of the European companies have actually decided to comply with the United States sanctions. So that's been a very positive step. They have taken a step away from Iran. And that's why I think Iran has laid down the gauntlet to say, look, you have to either comply with this agreement or we're going to rebuild our nuclear enrichment facility, Iraq. You know, it's Iraq, actually. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, it demonstrates why the sanctions are working now. And Europe is now starting to side with the United States in our pullout of this flawed agreement.
What does this mean for any sort of renegotiation effort by the Trump administration?
Again, just like with North Korea, it's a maximum pressure campaign. I think the USS Lincoln in the Persian Gulf sends a very strong statement that we're serious about that. The fact that Secretary Pompeo went to Baghdad to reassure the Iraqis that we have their back and that Iran is not in their best interest. And so we think that this sort of peace
Let me
through
step in for 1 second. Was there concern that there might be some dialogue between those? I mean, that's what we see when we put pressure on the Korean Peninsula. Sometimes that forces those countries to come cozier together, and even then with China. Is that sort of thing at play here?
Yes. And when I've talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu, he's always concerned about what he calls the Shia crescent. That would be the movement of Iranian Shia militias into Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. That's a direct threat to Israel. And so I think this is very, the latest news is very anti-Ayatollah and very pro-Israel.
Last question for you. What happens if they resume enriching uranium at a higher level? What do we do?
Well, it has to be stopped. I think Secretary Pompeo was very clear in his statement that we will not allow that to happen. That's why the aircraft carriers in the Persian Gulf right now. But it's a significant departure for Iran. But I think it also shows they were never serious in the first place about the Iran deal and that they intend to ramp up their nuclear military facility.
All right. Ranking Member Mike McCaul of the great state of Texas, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Harris.